Total destruction protocol activated. Initiating countdown. 3, 2, 1, 0.
What's up, guys, and welcome back. This is now video 4 of my aim train series, where we previously got into the 3 steps of the EZ3 system. This time I want to go ahead and start getting you guys into a practice routine so that you can start improving on yourself and learning how to benchmark against yourself, learning how to apply the EZ3 steps while you're actually training, and then working on it kind of each week as you go. So it's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to it. I think there's a lot of different training methods that people use out there. This is just one example of how I'm doing it. So you don't have to do it this way. If you have another way or there's a better way, you know, feel free to comment what you guys are doing and what you like better. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, as always, we're always going to be kind of referencing steps 1, 2, and 3 as we go through this. Mostly steps 1 and 2 as you're going through practice, but we always want to do a recap before we kick off what we're learning for, you know, the video for the day. So just remember, step 1 is looking for that under and over when you're adjusting your flick for your shots. Step 2 is basically adjusting your recoil or your ADS and looking for that anchoring versus slicing. And we're going to talk about that a little bit as I kind of go through some of this aim train and this practice routine that I have for you. So next, let's go ahead and let's get into hopping onto perfect aim train, and we're going to start there. So we're going to go ahead. When you're searching for servers, you could go ahead and punch in. It should be under modded, and basically you'd find perfect aim and go to the NA perfect aim train main, and that's where we're going to start. So once we're in here, what we want to do just to kind of get the juices flowing, you're not going to be warmed up right away when you first go in an aim train. So first you just want to kind of warm yourself up doing some targets. I like to go into perfect aim train and do kind of the competitive targets. I usually throw it on hard. I'm always, you know, my best score was 86 seconds. I do AK, I do classic. And like I said, this is really just around to just kind of get warmed up and see where we're at. I'm not going to be too critical about how I'm shooting. I'm not going to be, you know, overjudging myself because we're just doing this as a warm-up. But what we will do is after we do this first time around, we're going to see what our score is as far as seconds, and we're going to try to improve on that. You may not hit it within a round or two. Sometimes you can go and do a round in, say I shoot 86 and then I go and do it, and then all of a sudden I'm at 88. Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It could be the difference of just kind of how the targets fell for that map or so on and so forth. I mostly want to be within kind of a window when I'm doing the training for seconds. So as long as I'm within a couple seconds, obviously I want to shoot for a lower score and do better. But as long as I'm kind of within some kind of ballpark and I'm staying consistent, that's what I'm shooting for. So let's go ahead and give it a start and let's see where we're at. I'm not going to hit 86. I truly plan to hit, I'm thinking I'm going to land somewhere around like 105 to 110. That usually is about my average lately. So let's see what we got. So far feels pretty good. Sometimes I struggle to see where these damn targets are at, so that's another reason I'm not too hard on myself with the score. I'm mostly paying attention to how my recoil feels. When I flick, I'm paying attention to if I'm over flicking on the target, if I'm doing under or over. And then I'm also paying attention to how much I have to pull down on the mouse. Does it look like my recoil is doing a slicing pattern? Or does it feel like the recoil is kind of stuck in more of an anchoring position? Right now it feels a little bit like anchoring. When I flick over and I land on the targets, I notice I'm pulling down because my flick landed above kind of the target's head, and when I pull down, it's just not enough. It's like I don't have enough sensitivity to get back on my shots. These suckers are always a little... They blend in very well. Okay, so pretty close to what I said. I said I was going to be like 105, 110, and I landed at 109. And that's not bad. Like I said, I'm not beating myself up too much. Like I said, I'm not going for this super high score that I have here. 109 is, I think, a good spot for me, where I'm kind of warmed up for the day. But now what we want to do is I'm taking a mental note of if I was over or under on my flick. I'm also taking a mental note of if when I was doing my ADS and when I started my recoil, if I had more of an anchoring pattern where I felt like it was stuck, or if it was slicing more where, you know, the cursor was basically bouncing down through the target, then back up in almost kind of an uncontrollable fashion. To me, it felt like my flick was okay. I wasn't having to do too much of an adjustment from an under and over standpoint. So I think I'm going to leave that there. I think I'm probably just going to be tweaking my recoil a little bit based on what I was seeing. But first, before I do that, what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and I'm going to go back into kind of a aim train area and just practice shooting some targets so that now that I'm warmed up a little bit, and let's see if I'm actually, you know, if that was just the luck of the warm-up round, or if, you know, that's truly where I'm at and I need to make an ADS adjustment. But I'm going to go ahead and just pop into kind of a target area. For this one, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I could go back into the advanced targets. I could go back into simple targets. It's whichever one you feel you're able to visualize your recoil and your flick patterns the best. So you could just get warmed up. For this one, I'm just going to go to simple targets. And we'll do 125 just so I'm warmed up a little bit. Now I feel like I'm warming up a little bit more, getting some more headshots. At 125, that's not bad, because usually if you think about it, in your first 3 to 5 shots, those are going to be the ones that matter when you're actually out there in the game and playing, because those first shots that you get on someone before, that's really before they can really react to it, and you want those ones to count. Again, I'm paying attention to my recoil. I'm trying to visually see, do I have anchoring going on, or does it feel like I'm really pulling down on the mouse and just not able to make any better adjustments? Or not basically go down through it. If it feels like I'm just kind of stuck, like above the target when I flick, and then I can't pull down into the target, my sensitivity is probably too low for the day. If I feel like I'm just kind of zigzagging all over the place, I'm doing this slicing pattern, then my recoil is probably too high for the day. And again, we're just going through the motions, just trying to see where we're at, just trying to warm up a little bit. Next, we'll go and just kind of, we're going to go and just practice some aim on some of these targets. Getting used to basically just my tracking motion. Getting a little better, getting a little bit more warmed up. Also throw me a little bit off too, because I'm recording and trying to talk through it, which is a little bit different. Not making excuses, but definitely tell I'm off a little bit just from trying to focus on this from a teaching perspective too. So hopefully I'm kind of illustrating the points though of what we're doing today, which is just getting into kind of a practice routine. So first we went through the competitive targets, and then we went, we came onto the range here so that we can get a little bit better feel after we're warmed up, trying to understand, do we need to make an adjustment or not? Right now, I think I almost want to do another competitive round just to see where I'm at and just focus on it and see if it improves or if I'm still kind of stuck at that 109 for a time for today. But now let's go into, we're going to bounce out and we're going to go into some moving targets just to get in that flow too. So now we're going to go into the aimbots area for perfect aim train, and we're just going to get in the motion. Again, this is still just kind of a warm up, just getting practice in, shooting some different targets, trying to stay calm. I don't know about you guys, but I squeeze the absolute shit out of the mouse when I'm playing. So I try to keep a much more comfortable grip, but it seems like no matter what I'm doing, I got kind of a bear grip on the mouse while I'm playing. I'm trying to not do that as much because, I feel like the calmer you are, the less tense you are grabbing the mouse. I feel like you could probably hit some better recoil patterns, but I mean, if you're in a situation where you're defending your base or in a PvP moment, I think it's kind of hard to dial back the intensity. We're all kind of shaking a little bit, you know what I mean? So again, we're just paying attention to my flick as I flick to these targets, paying attention to my recoil. You don't want to come in and just shoot targets. That doesn't do anything for you. Pay attention to your recoil. Pay attention to your flick. Start to see where you're at for the day. Okay, I kind of like where it's at, so now I'm going to go ahead and do competitive targets again to see if I improve on the time now that I'm warmed up a little bit. If I've improved on the time, then I'm probably going to keep it where it's at. I may not make any changes, but go ahead and see. Okay, we remember that last time was 109, so we want to pay attention to what that number was, and now we're just going to go ahead and see if we land on it again and we're consistent. Maybe my settings are okay for today. If I beat it, then I know the warm-up is what helped and what I needed for the day. If I get worse, then I may go back and aim train a little bit and then come back and do one more competitive targets just to try to beat it again. But the point is we're trying to benchmark. We're trying to see where our aim is at, and we're trying to do it while we're warmed up and see where our improvements are for the day. Let's go ahead and let's get it. Fuck, where's that last one? Towards the end there, it kind of felt like I was a bit slower. Like I don't know. I wasn't sure I was going to make time. I think I did a much better in the beginning. I was actually really surprised to hit 105, but I mean, that's a good thing now that I'm like warmed up a little bit. But you could kind of tell, go back in the video a little bit and look. And towards the end, kind of the last 2 rounds, you notice I would flick over and it seemed like my recoil was stuck above the targets a little bit where I couldn't pull it down. And that's the anchoring that I'm talking about, where I flicked over and I'd pull down. I was running out of desk space, and then I'd almost have to reset, and you'd see my mouse jump a little bit for that reset. So I'm actually going to adjust my ADS up a little bit. So right now I'm at 0.512. And I don't want to go a whole lot, so let me go ahead and see what my numbers are. I went and punched in my starting ADS, or my current ADS, which is 0.512. And this is for adjusting for our recoil sensitivity. I divided that by 30 since I'm a little bit further along. I'm not doing divided by 10 anymore. I've gone past 10, gone past dividing by 20. I'm doing by 30 because I need finer tuned adjustments. So I'm not looking to change a whole lot on my sensitivity. I want to go just a little bit, like a couple percentage points. So in this case, but that 512 that you seen divided by 30 was 0.017. So I'm going to just go ahead and bump my ADS up. I'm going to increase it a little bit. I'm going to do 0.512 plus 0.017. That brings my new number to 0.529. I'm going to go ahead and punch that into my ADS. And then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do another round of competitive targets. And then we're going to see if that improves, or hopefully it doesn't get worse. If it does get worse, then I can go back to the other one. But I should hope to see a little bit of improvement, at least getting rid of the anchoring issue that I had going on towards like those last couple rounds. So let's go ahead and try it again. Take a drink of my lucky Diet Cherry Coke, and let's go ahead and let's give it another shot. Hopefully we see an improvement. Oh my god, where's the last guy? 113. That's not so good. So I think what was happening there too, I noticed I was kind of struggling with a couple spots. I'm not convinced it was worse because I think that round was maybe just a fluke. And the reason was because I think kind of placement of targets threw me off a little bit. Song I'm listening to that you guys can't hear. going to go ahead and shut that off. I do want to try it again because I did like how the first couple rounds went before we got to kind of some of the last ones where I was kind of hunting a little bit more. So I think I'm going to keep the same ADS. I'm going to go ahead and try it again. And let's see what we get this time. Another thing I did too is I don't know if you guys have an adjustable kind of sit-stand desk. Mine is adjustable, and sometimes I don't always set it to the right height. So I did lower it a little bit to see if that kind of helps. But let's go. Maybe it was just an ergonomic thing, or maybe that was just not the right ADS setting. Let's go ahead and give it another shot. God damn, we got even worse. So now that I've seen where that's at, my ADS that I had set up is, I think, still in the wrong direction. Even though it started off a little bit stronger up close, we're actually going to go the other way. So we're going to take that same 0.512 that we had that was divided by 30. Remember, we added 0.017. We're going to take the 512 and now we're going to subtract 0.017. So that new number we're going to get is 0.495. Okay, let's go ahead. I think we're warmed up again. Let's go ahead and give it a go. back to 109 again. So I think what's important here is you notice how initially our thinking was like we were anchoring, so we wanted to set a little bit higher. So we went and adjusted our ADS up. But then we found as we got a little bit more warmed up, it seems like my recoil was better in the first couple sections of the competitive round. But then all of a sudden we got towards the end, I started to miss more and we started to add more time because I was maybe slicing a little bit too much. Now that we are warmed up, I'm dropping it back to 109. I'm going to do one more adjustment since that seemed to get me a little bit back on track. We're going to do one more adjustment down and then we're going to see where we land for the day. If we're still consistent, we're still around the 109, then say it's kind of our pick, what setting we want to use. I'll probably just use the last setting that we're adjusted to, but let's see if we improve on it, or let's see, hopefully we don't get worse again, but let's see where we're at. So we're going to take our old number, the 0.495, that was already down from 0.512, and we're going to go down another 0.017 from the 495. And the goal is hopefully we're slowing ourselves down and getting some good shots. So let's see where we're at. Go ahead and get that guy punched in. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and give it another shot and hopefully we do better. Okay, so 103 that time. I think remember the first time around we did our warm up, we did some training. We landed at, the first round was I think 109, then we landed at a 105, but we still wanted to improve on it a little bit. But then we got worse, and then we were even, and then now we're at a 103. So we're definitely trending in the right direction. I think what I would end up doing now that I'm kind of warmed up and doing some training and stuff, if I was going to hop back on my wipe, I'm probably good with where I'm at. So this is I would go ahead and keep this ADS setting here, and I would keep running this same cycle that we did, the same warm-up routine for the next couple days to try to adjust to this ADS setting, but also maybe make a small tweak or so to see how it feels. But again, this is as you're going through, I want you to pay attention again, start paying attention to, don't be just shooting the targets, check the flick that you're doing on the targets. If it seems like you're flicking way past the targets instead of under on the targets, then maybe your sensitivity is too high. If you're constantly flicking to a target and then still having to flick even more to get on target, your sensitivity is probably too low. And then look for the differences of where your recoil is, whether you're anchoring or you're slicing. So it's not just shooting targets, training your eyes to understand what you're doing. And that's really what the EZ3 system is about. We just did essentially what was one loop for step 3. And then another loop would be maybe tomorrow. You do a second loop where we're adjusting again, and then another loop to see if this is the ADS that we want to keep. But it never really stops. You're always kind of adjusting, and you know, it's just a constant improvement. And I think that's why this system works well. So that's kind of a little intro to kind of a practice routine that'll do. I know I probably sound like a broken record at this point going over the same things, but that really is about kind of getting these points hammered home. You know, don't just make it where you're going in and shooting at targets. Pay attention to what your flick is doing. Pay attention to what your recoil is doing. And then reference the first couple videos for the EZ3 that I did, the first and second, even the third video, and really start to bury home the mentality of what you have to do when you're training yourself, or you have your duos watching your spray, knowing that they can learn it too, to understand how to help you make corrections so that you're constantly tweaking your aim and recoil and just getting better and better every time. That is all we had for this week. So be sure to tune in. Next weekend, we're going to be doing another video. We'll get into some other stuff, maybe some more tips and tricks. Also maybe, you know, maybe some more tips on kind of doing some practice. But anyway, appreciate you guys. If you made it this far in the video, thanks so much. Be sure to follow me on my socials. It's Denny Pete on TikTok, Denny Pete on Twitch, Denny Pete on Kick. And I think that's about it. If you happen to run through this routine and you want to post your content, post it on TikTok or somewhere and tag me in it, and I'd love to see how you guys are doing. So be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to your guys' feedback, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much, guys.